Hey YouTube, what's going on today? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the Arizona Wildcats, just giving a quick preview headed into spring football for them and what this team's going to look like headed into the fall. Obviously, it's way too early to give a full breakdown of what this team's going to look like. A lot can change even from now until the spring game, but also after that, guys could leave Arizona or they could go get a lot of impact players that we just don't know are out there yet. So with that, let's get right into the depth chart. For Arizona headed into 2025, I think the theme for this team is the word new. Obviously, at receiver, you have two guys coming in. You have Chris Hudson, Luke Wysong. Then the entire right side of the offensive line, including the center, are all transfers. Even some of the backups are transfers. And Chris Hudson and Luke Wysong, these are two guys that have huge shoes to fill. Obviously, you lose Tetairoa McMillan, probably the best receiver in the Big 12, one of the best in college football last season. So those two guys have a lot of stats to pick up for, a lot of lost production. And then the offensive line, multiple guys going to the NFL draft, you're losing. One thing Arizona does have is a quarterback returning and Noah Fifita, and the expectations should be very high for him. He didn't play well last year. That could just be, a sophomore setback. He played well as a freshman when he got his opportunity, but now he is the man. He's headed into his third year, and you have to expect good things out of him. I myself do expect good things, even though he did lose T-Mac. But Arizona went out in the portal. They got running back Ismail Mahdi. Mahdi's from Texas State, and this dude's an absolute stud. I expect him to put up crazy numbers at Arizona. And the offensive line we just talked about, these new pieces, these are good new pieces. And giving him a good offensive line to run behind. This team might be a run-first team, especially when you have a workhorse at running back like Ismail Mahdi. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Now switch it over to the defense. There is a lot of good things happening here, especially up front. I think the strength of this team is going to be the defensive line and the front seven overall. You go out and you get Savea out of the transfer portal, and you return a lot of guys, a lot of 4th and 5th year guys up front. Trey Smith, Chuba May, Riley Wilson's a pretty good linebacker as well. In the secondary, you do lose Tacario Davis, so guys are going to have to step up. You have Marquise Groves Killebrew. He's a pretty good player in my opinion. Genesis Smith, and then you go and get Javian Cole out of the transfer portal. There is talent to work with, but there's no promises that it's all going to work out, especially the guys that they got in the transfer portal. Both on offense and defense, center, right guard, right tackle, all being in the transfer portal. I don't think there's really an in-between. I think it's going to be really good or really bad when you live and die by the transfer portal, especially on the offensive line. And we're just going to have to see how it works out for Arizona. Like I said, they're very disappointing last year. Probably one of the more disappointing teams in college football, if not the most disappointing. They were ranked. A lot of people had them in the Big 12 championship. A lot of people picked them to win the Big 12. I'd say them and Utah were very disappointing in that conference. Them and Oklahoma State. I think this is a big opportunity for Arizona, and we can take a look at the schedule. They open up with Hawaii. You got to assume that's going to be a win. Same with Weber State. You got 2 games right there you'd assume are victories, but at this point you really don't know. Kansas State, BYU, Baylor, that's going to be a tough stretch. All those teams are probably going to be pretty good. Baylor might be the worst of those 3, and they're probably going to be better than they were last year, and I'm pretty sure they won 8 games. Oklahoma State, Kansas. I don't think Oklahoma State's going to be anything great this year. Kansas, they have a lot of guys coming back. So you have to assume the Jayhawks are going to be pretty good. At Arizona State, you're probably going to be dogs in that game. At Cincinnati, that's a winnable game, one you're going to have to get. At Colorado, another opportunity, right? A lot of new guys on Colorado in a very similar spot to you, right? They had to hit the transfer portal, fill a lot of big holes on the roster, and who knows, it might not work out for them, might work out for you. That could be a winnable game. At Houston, another one. This is another team up in the air. We don't really know what they're going to look like. Honestly, it's probably 50-50 right now. And then at Iowa State, that's going to be a tough game. Iowa State returning a lot of guys as well. A very good team. Now, the expectations for what their record should be, right now, I know it's February. We have a long ways to go. But I think you have to like Arizona's chances of making a bowl game at least. I know the expectations for the fan base are probably higher than that, and they should be. You had a really good season just in 2023, and then 2024 was a big disaster. You had a lot of talented players, and you just didn't live up to the hype. And if I had to put a prediction on it, say 6-6 or 7-5 is what people should expect. The schedule does have games you can win, but also you have games that you're going to be huge underdogs in if the season started right now. Yeah, you guys let me know down below what you guys think of Arizona headed into this year. And Arizona fans, let me know down in the comments, and let others know in the comments what guys on the roster are underrated, or who are some guys that we need to know headed into spring ball. And yeah, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe before you head out, and I'll see you on the next video.